You touched on the term precision nutrition earlier. And one of the topics that I want to talk about is actually a concept by a Japanese design studio called Open Meals. And they are designing a restaurant concept called Sushi Singularity. And the idea being that the restaurant would create 3D printed sushi by analyzing saliva, urine, and stool sample of diners, so that the meals that they produce are tailored to the nutritional needs of the consumer. Do you think that's a realistic kind of, are we looking at a future where we send a stool sample ahead of our meal before, you make a reservation and send along a stool sample? I think that might be difficult if you're going for dinner with a big group, right? That might be messy.
That might be messy. And sending urine and stool samples, I mean, it's definitely an interesting proposition. From our own research, we know, for example, that in urine you can measure about a couple of hundreds of metabolites. We call it metabolic phenotype.
Mm-hmm.
And that is reflective of your genes and environment and gut microbiome interactions. So that's why urine provide a wealth of information about personal individual biology. And it's very easy to access in a way. So just an example. I would personally not do it probably at this stage, but it's definitely an exciting and interesting proposition, because you can potentially identify the molecules that, as mentioned, indicative of your gut microbiome activity.
Yeah. But you and I discussed this before, this idea that potentially you could have this food passport, something that has all this information on your kind of genetic predispositions, and kind of, it could be varying levels of kind of in-depth knowledge about you as an individual and your nutritional requirements, your likes, your dislikes, that you could send ahead to restaurants, perhaps, and that they would be able to take that into consideration. I think the point about 3D printing the food is maybe a bit kind of, we're not quite there yet with that technology. But from an AI perspective, or from a medical perspective, there's every chance that that is a possible future, though, right? That we could actually be having meals tailored to our individual personal needs. That seems to be, this idea of precision nutrition seems to be kind of a hot topic recently.
And this is it. We know that one fits all diet doesn't work. So that's why I personally think that it's the future, because even from genetic point of view, we have different risks of developing certain diseases. And we know even from our own research that certain ingredients may have more disease preventative potential than others. And for those individuals who are at risk, happen to be unfortunate enough to have predisposition to certain diseases because of the family, for example, then, of course, I mean, then even at high level, when you go to a restaurant, you would prefer them to eat certain ingredients that have health benefits for these individuals. I mean, the question is, this is only one component. You also need to take into account the visual aesthetics and ultimately taste that this individual like, because if you prepare a food healthy for them but they don't like it, I mean, they would never come back to restaurants. So that's why this idea of precision nutrition is there, and it would ultimately based on AI and machine learning technologies, because the number of variables that we are talking about is humongous. I mean, take your say genomes, you have 20,000 encoding proteins. You have microbiome with basically millions of genes from bugs as well that interact. So all these readouts, I mean, produced vast amount of data, and that you need to interrogate and study interactions between these variables, and that is why you need machine learning and AI techniques to provide these solutions. And I have to say that you can start at the higher level first. I mean, take into account a kind of phenotypic characteristics. I mean, such as, for example, a disease profile, so the drugs you take, the ingredients you like, and go deeper and deeper into biological level to refine your recommendation.